Hi, first grade. Happy Thursday. We are going to hopefully not have too long of a video, but we are going to watch a story read by Miss Molly today. Parents, Miss Molly is a high school student who is part of a CAPS program where she has decided that she wants to learn more about teaching. And so if she wants to go to college to become a teacher. So she spent basically since November with us in our classroom for about an hour and a half a day and just kind of helping out, teaching some spelling lessons here and there, things like that. So she's going to read a story for us today. And as she is reading this story, I am going to fill out my character setting first, next, then last on here, and then I will go over that with you guys when the story's finished. And when the story is finished and this video is finished, you're going to get your own book, whether that means you're listening to it on Storyline Online, there's a really good book you like on YouTube, maybe you're having someone read you a story at home, or you're reading a story by yourself at home. You can do that, and then you're going to fill out the chart on the Google Doc. So character setting first, next, and last. Okay. We've added a piece to that since we started this online learning. At the beginning, it was beginning, middle, and end, and that's a little bit more broad of a spectrum. But in our writing, we're wanting to be really specific and making sure that we're able to connect our events and making sure they're in correct order. So it's important that we're both practicing in our reading and also in our writing, identifying the first, next, then, and last, and making sure everything's in that correct order of how we heard it in the story. So I'm going to fill it out for the story that Ms. Molly reads, and then you guys are going to fill it out for a story that you read at home. So let's go ahead and listen to our story from Miss Molly. Okay, here we go. I'm going to try and get my, I don't know, is there a way to get rid of me? Oh, bye. All right, here we go, first grade. And right now we are just listening and enjoying the story from Miss Molly.
Hi guys, I miss you all. I hope you guys are doing good and are having some fun doing some virtual learning. I'm also doing virtual learning in my high school class. I'm going to be reading this book to you called Thank You, Amu. I was originally going to give you guys this book. Each one of you guys are going to receive a hardback book of this copy, but unfortunately, due to the coronavirus, I haven't been able to see you guys and to give it to you. So hopefully sometime Miss Snipes or Miss Overish will be able to give you the book. I'm going to give the books to them and hopefully you'll receive it. But I'm going to read Thank You, Amu. Thank you, Amu. On the corner of First Street and Long Street, on the very top floor, Amu was cooking a thick red stew and a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred it and took a small taste. What delicious stew, Amu said. Tonight's dinner will surely be the best I ever had. And there's the picture. With that, Amu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, a scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the corner until, knock, someone was at the door. When Amu opened it, she saw, who do you guys think is going to be at the door? A little boy. Little boy, Amu explained, what brings you to my home? I was playing with my race car down the hall when I smelled the most delicious smell. The little boy replied, what is it? Thick red stew. Stew. He sighed, that sure sounds yummy. Amu thought for a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a bit. It would not hurt to share. Would you like some? And so Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the little boy said, and went on his way. With that, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. As she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until, knock, knock, someone was at the door. Someone. When Amu opened it, she saw a police officer. Miss Police Officer, Amu exclaimed, what brings you to my home? I was on duty down the street when I smelled the most delicious smell. Miss Police Officer replied, what is it? Thick red stew, she said, and her mouth watered. That sounds mighty tasty. And there's the Miss Police Officer. Amu thought for a moment. There was still enough to share. Would you like some? The police officer nodded. Once again, Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the officer said, and went on her way. And so for the second time, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. Sure enough, as she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until, knock, knock, knock. Can you knock with me? Knock, knock. Again, someone was at Amu's door. This time when she opened it, she saw a hot dog vendor. Mr. Hot Dog Vendor, Amu exclaimed, what brings you to my home? I was selling my hot dogs down the block when I smelled the most delicious smell. Mr. Hot Dog Vendor replied, what is it? Thick red stew. Ooh, stew. The vendor licked his lips. That sounds quite delectable. So Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the hot dog vendor said, and went on his way. Throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Amu's door. She said, the shop owner, a cab driver, a doctor, an actor, a lawyer, a dancer, a baker, an artist, a singer, an athlete, a bus driver, a construction worker, even the mayor stopped by. And each time they knocked, Amu shared. Soon the sky darkened, the streetlights brightened, and it was finally time for dinner. But when Amu opened her big fat pot of thick red stew for her nice evening meal, it was empty. How do you guys think Amu felt? Amu sniffled. There goes the best dinner I ever had. Sorry and blue, she sat at the table with her empty pot until, knock with me, knock, 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 knock. Who could that be? Amu wondered. When she opened the door, she saw, who do you guys think is at the door? The little boy, the police officer, the hot dog vendor, the shop owner, the cab driver, the doctor, the actor, the lawyer, the dancer, the baker. Why, everyone she fed that day was at her door. I'm sorry, everyone, Amu sighed. My thick red stew is all gone. I have nothing left to share. The little boy tugged at Amu's sleeve. Don't worry. We are not here to ask. We are here to give. The police officer carried in a fresh salad. The mayor entered with a roast chicken. The baker brought a collection of sweet goodies. Even the little boy presented Amu with something special in a red tiny envelope. Everyone who knocked on Amu's door that day squeezed inside her tiny apartment, and together they ate, danced, and celebrated. While Amu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty, her heart was full of happiness. That was the best she ever had. Thank you, Amu. So I want you guys to tell me a time that either someone has shared with you or that you shared with somebody. All right, I hope to see you guys later. I don't know what that will be, but you guys have a good rest of the school year. Bye.
All right. Thank you, Miss Molly. That was so fun. Students, I hope you enjoyed seeing her and hearing that story. And we will find a way for everyone to get that book because it's a great story. So while Miss Molly was reading, I was filling out my chart. So here we go. So we have our characters. There was a lot of people we met during our story, but obviously our most important character and our character who kept coming up on every single page was Amu. So we have our characters. And then we have, I could also, if I had more space or if I had, some extra time, I could also list our supporting characters, which would be the little boy, the police officer, the hot dog stand guy, and so on, okay? And then our setting was Amu's apartment. And then first, oh gosh, guys, I forgot a word. She made a delicious stew. There we go. Next, Amu shared her stew with many guests. So when something like that in a story happens where we're seeing the same type of thing happening over and over again, we can kind of put that into one big broad category of saying that she just shared it with many people. Other than having to list every single, because that would be like basically retelling the story page by page. So when we think about the story as a whole, we think about how she made this stew, and then people just kept coming to her door and she kept sharing her stew with them, okay? And then and all of a sudden I started writing really big. Then Amu realized there was no more stew for her. So after all these people have come and gone and she has served them stew, she realizes that there's none left for her. And last, I think kind of got ripped off there. It says, everyone came back to thank Amu. And then they had a little party. So that story is a really great story about sharing and how good it can make us feel and making sure that we're being selfless. So I love that story. Thank you, Miss Molly, for sharing that story. And I can't wait for you all to be able to receive that book. So we will figure it out for all of us. So you're going to go ahead now and think about that chart with the characters and the setting. And now that you've seen it done with a story, go ahead and pick a new one and get it done on your own. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. I hope you guys are having a good Thursday. And I will see you tomorrow for our spelling test and our Fun Friday activity. So stay tuned. Bye-bye, first grade.